meeting, and I recognize that we do not yet have a quorum. So it's my understanding that I can have the reports brought forward, but there's nothing further that I can do until I have a quorum. So if we could start with the, Kathy, with the purchasing and central services.
Okay, this month we did hot mix asphalt. Callahan Industries was the awarded vendor. This is for 2 projects. It was specific kind of asphalt that we needed. We couldn't use the state contract
Why, Kath?
because they needed a different kind of asphalt
Oh,
for those
okay.
roads. Eggs and cheese.
Cheers.
Everybody better?
Egg and cheese.
Eggs and cheese.
Purchasing for the nursing home, for the jail.
You gotta feed them no matter what you think.
It's monthly pricing.
Go ahead, Kath, I'm with you.
Bridge construction materials, A.H. Harris, and building materials. We had 2 vendors this time, both local. We processed 211 purchase orders last month, and we have a recyclables report if anybody is interested.
We got that from Bill Cutler this morning.
Thank you, thank you. Board of Elections, Rodney?
What you tell you, I had to write it down.
En español,
Oh, boy.
en español.
I know we missed the last meeting and we apologize for that, but, starting in February, we had a, issue in Bloomingburg that I'm sure you're all aware of. At the last minute, we had 140 plus voter registrations, very close to the deadline for the 30-day residency requirement to vote in the March 18th election.
Yeah.
We processed several FOIL requests with help from the county attorney's office. We had 3 voter challenges, one for 148 people, one for 39, and one for 27, that were placed against 140 plus last minute voter registrations. We had 1 voter challenge for 84 people, who were mostly people displaced by the buy-up of properties in the village. And they were mostly renters or leasees and a few property owners. Many mailings of voter notices and challenges, challenge papers, and all that went with it were sent by us by certified return receipt mail, which is required by law, probably to the tune of a couple $1,000 out of our budget that we really hadn't anticipated. At our request, the Sheriff's Department visited and wrote reports on many of the locations the 140 plus new voters said they lived in. This was part of the process for the challenges. We had a court appearance based on how this election was going to be run, and the judge ruled according to Board of Elections and county attorney recommendations to allow us to use affidavit ballots and envelopes and seclude those challenge votes from the ones that weren't, and we were successful doing that, and we kept those in a separate locked box to wait and see how that determination came through the court system. We processed absentee ballots and applications for all villages. We packed and unpacked all election materials. We ran the 4 village elections, the three regular elections in Bloomingburg according to what the court ordered. Wirksboro and Liberty was actually normal activity and all went okay. Monticello village election, there were many contentious issues, and the Sheriff's Department was asked by us to have a presence in 2 poll sites. And the end result was all things went pretty well. Bloomingburg, Ann and I delivered all the equipment and materials at the poll site at 11 a.m. on election day and helped the poll workers understand the court-ordered system that we were using, and we stayed until about 3 p.m. Then we returned about 6:30 p.m. and we were actually there until about 10:30 or so, and went through the count of the ballots that were cast that weren't challenged, packed all the equipment up and brought the ballot boxes, locked ballot boxes and everything back to Board of Elections and put them in the locked, secure room. We also had the Sheriff's Department have a presence there all day. It was a pretty contentious day there also. We recanvassed the votes from the 4 elections. In Bloomingburg, we recanvassed all but the 110 challenge votes, which were sealed in affidavit envelopes and locked in the box until we got the results from the court cases that were pending. We issued decisions on the 4 voter challenges from Board of Elections like we're required to. The first voter challenge we dealt with was the 84 displaced residents, who were renters, lessees, and property owners. I say displaced, that's maybe not the correct term, but their properties were bought and they were asked to move or moved. And most of them had already re-registered elsewhere and were notified of that, and some of them even notified us that they were moving. So on that challenge, we ruled that the challenge was not valid. The three challenges against the 148 new voters stood, and their votes would not count. Of the 148 new voters, 110 actually voted. After 3 court appearances on our challenge decisions, the court action was dropped and the judge ruled in Board of Elections' favor on all of the accounts, on all 4 decisions that we had made. So we went ahead and counted the 11 affidavit ballots that were from the challenge we ruled against, and all 4 village elections were certified. The county attorney's office did an outstanding job with guidance on freedom of information requests and the court appearances and dealing with questions from the media and so on and so forth. We were under kind of a gag order because of the pending litigation, so it was helpful for them to get information to the press to the ability as much as they could. The Sheriff's Department was also outstanding in dealing with checking those properties for us and keeping things calm at the poll sites on election day. And we mailed certificates to the winning candidates, and since then we printed enrollment books for the coming year for all 15 towns, and we're sending voter polls, enrollment lists to school districts and libraries, and keeping up with the normal everyday things that we always do.
Good job.
Wow.
I'd like to thank you and Ann and your entire staff for putting up with all the crap you put up with over the last few weeks.
Well,
And you handled it very well.
Thank you.
And I think you did a great job for the county.
I'll pass that on. I can tell you that without help from the county attorney's office and the sheriff's department, I'm not sure how we would have or could have gotten through all this. So they deserve thanks also, and we've done that. The thing I will tell you, and if Ann was here today, she's on vacation, by the way, a much deserved one. She would agree with me if she was here that in Board of Elections we have a team. It's not 1 or 2 people that do anything on their own down there. And if it wasn't for that team, these things wouldn't get done. So all 6 people down there are equally responsible for what happens or doesn't happen. And without that team effort, it's not possible. So
Please extend our gratitude, because I really think that it was a wonderful job under very trying circumstances.
thank you.
Not to blow your horn, but a team can't run without the co-captains.
Well,
Thank you.
okay. See you folks later.
Okay. Cooperative extension, Sean?
Thank you.
Okay, so the first page there, you can see it's an update on the greenhouse facility that was installed just last month. We met our March 10th deadline with the help of Sullivan County BOCES and their natural resource program. We really want to thank them for all the assistance they've given us. And on the back of that page is the kitchen update, which has also been moving right along. We've got a lot of appliances in, and most of the demo work is now done, and we're just waiting on some installs to start to happen. But with both these facilities, the director of the statewide extension system came down last week. I believe, Kitty, you were in attendance
Yes.
at that walkthrough. So he, because this is a pretty new and innovative kind of project for extensions. There's only a couple that do this type of these type of build outs that are going on right now in Sullivan County. So he came down, and the feedback was very positive from Mr. Watkins. So I don't know if you want to lead in with that, but it was good. So we have some other things going on. We've got our agriculture and natural resource program. You can see the update. We have a high tunnel that we are also going to be pursuing in the coming weeks. We're going to be installing out on the grounds as well. to kind of go a step further with how folks can do a little more seasonal production and lengthen the season. So for producers in the county, we want to make it a demo area. We have our beginner farmer program is continuing tomorrow evening. We have or tomorrow afternoon, I mean, our hay, baleage, and forage quality program is going to go on. And we're teaming with Ulster County next week and doing a composting tour of two counties, so bigger facilities in the county. Danny Bry's composting facility in Sullivan County will be featured. Our agricultural literature week was a huge success this year. We had over 985 children across Sullivan County read a farm to table book, Who Grew My Soup, with volunteer help, of course, and we're actually still getting numbers in for that because it was continued into this week and next for some school districts who couldn't fit it into the required week. Our Master Gardener training, which Ms. Edwards did, I guess, attend, began, and we're kind of in the middle of it. And it runs through May 22nd. We have another 25 Master Gardeners who will contribute back to the program with volunteer hours. And then there's more gardening classes that are going on. Each volunteer is given back with their own coursework. Our 4-H program continues to move forward. A lot of the regional programs happened over the last month. So what happens is we have our local clubs, prepare for things like public presentations, our horse equine contests, and our dairy competitions. They practice locally. They get a chance to compete on the county level. If they do well enough, they can move on to districts, which we had districts for all of those events this past month. And our horse bowl competitors, we had 4 go on to states, which is actually this weekend. And our dairy bowl team, we had one of our youth finished in first place. And so he's moving on to the states as well at Cornell. And then our public presentations, we had 4 youth move on to states from our district. So if you have any questions with those, that's the program I oversee. I can get in more details with those. Our Eat Smart New York programs moving right along. They're on target with all their required numbers for the year. We're moving in directions of a lot of class series with that. We're working with high schools and kind of going beyond just nutrition, but it's also healthy lifestyle and fitness and movement we're trying to move into. Along the same lines, our elder care program, the Caregiver Resource Center, teamed up with the Alzheimer's Association this past month, and we're actually going to replicate this program again over the next month in 2 other places, but keeping fit from the neck up, dementia patients and Alzheimer's patients, how to kind of keep it all going in a good direction. And so that program is a success. We have our support groups have been meeting regularly as well. And then we've got our invasive species program this month, or next month, well actually the 22nd, so next week, we're doing a Eurasian boar invasive species program, so that's an interesting one. It'll be an extension on the 22nd. One thing you'll see at the back of this packet are 2 scholarships for Sullivan County youth who are interested in furthering their education in the agricultural fields. They're both due on tax day, April 15th. So, but the Earl and Elizabeth Wild Scholarship and the Skoda Family Scholarship are both to area colleges. You can look in there for Morrisville and Delaware Valley College and Cobleskill, I believe. So if you know of any youth who want to help us spread the word, we're trying to get that all in by April 15th so we can do the review process and get that going too. So any questions?
Could I ask you a question?
Sure.
Upcoming programs, mortality and manure composting?
Mortality and manure, I would have to throw that to our ag educator.
Dead cow.
Cat, right?
Composting dead cow.
Yeah,
Right.
composting the carcasses.
And there's
I'm
no smell, and it just turns into sawdust, and it's all good.
Yeah, and if you
Okay.
believe that, here's some
All right,
fairy
I
dust and a
couldn't
magic
remember.
wand.
No, it really
I grew
works.
up on a farm, I
It
know.
really does. Not this way, Gene, this is the new
Oh,
technology.
it's a new technology?
I really
You
didn't
don't throw
know.
them in a hole in the ground and light them up?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate
That's
that.
what we used to do.
I'd like to take a moment now that I think that we have the number to do the roll call, please.
Ms. Fetter,
Here.
Mrs. Edwards, Mr. Benson.
Here.
Mrs. Geiger.
Here.
Mr. Sorensen.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, so going forward now, county clerk, I didn't see anybody in the room for that. So Sullivan County Community College,
Yes.
Corinne, please.
Okay, I'm going to, if it's okay, I'm gonna sit
I-
at the table because I have some
Absolutely.
materials today.
Absolutely, thank you.
So, let's see. Okay, so I guess I have three topics, and the first topic is, we have a open board position. And I think what I've realized at the college is there is a little bit of, I don't know if it's confusion, maybe that's too strong of a word, about how those appointments are made. And so, Ira mentioned this to me right as I was walking in. And I just wanted to, let you know that I understand that the board has sent some names to probably you.
Yeah.
I think that currently, the official board chair is Steve Drobish. So I just wanted to let you know, Scott, that in terms of whatever process the county board, this board group would like to do with the Board of Trustees, I think the two individuals to communicate with at this point are Steve Drobish and Penny Coombs has agreed to be the vice chair. Both Steve and Penny are sort of interim, while Nick Speranza is hopefully recovering from his procedure yesterday. But that could be months. So I think it's important to the college, I think, to figure out what the appropriate process is, and I think the correct individuals to help you do that would be Steve Drobish and Penny Coombs. So I just wanted to kind of alert you to that.
I'll just give you an update. I
So-
sent out the resumes and letters to all of my colleagues.
Okay,
We
great.
will, we've invited them in on the 22nd of this month.
Good.
And they will meet with each caucus.
Okay,
So
great.
within an hour, so they'll just switch places. They'll come in at 9:30
Right.
and then switch. So the board will have an opportunity to interview them. They have the resumes. And then in the April meeting on the 24th, we should make a recommendation.
And can you invite the Board of Trustees to hear the candidates? Because some of the board members are not familiar with the candidates, which is one of the problems. And I've been told to stay out of it. So I'm trying to stay out of it, but on the other hand, I see that the process isn't really working very smoothly from the, not your perspective, but from the perspective of the SUNY Sullivan Board of Trustees. There are some trustees who are concerned that they haven't seen the resumes yet.
So,
And-
can't they do their own?
Well, that's what I would have
That's-
thought. I
yeah.
thought this was done from my
Right.
Right,
communication
no.
with Nick.
Right.
It was indicated to me
Right.
that the board had talked about several people, had chosen
Right.
these two people, and were asking the legislature to look at them. So,
Wasn't it two?
Yeah.
I have no
no,
idea.
we had two, I don't know how
So,
many there were total.
I thought you had three, but I don't know
They
for
s-
sure.
Well, they mentioned
Yeah.
another name, but there was no resume or anything.
I think that came in this morning in your email. Check your email. I know
You've had time to check email?
I get here at 7 o'clock in the morning.
God bless you.
Let me put it another way. Can you do me a favor and just forward this to Steve Drobish and Penny, and then they can opt to share it with the board?
The bo-
Except,
the-
I mean, to be truthful with you, Nick Speranza has actually been technically he's on a leave of absence from the board.
Right,
So,
okay.
so it,
All right, I'll send the resumes back to Steve
that would be great.
and let you guys
Right.
handle your side of it,
Right.
but in the meantime, by the 22nd, we'll be meeting
Good
with
idea.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
fine.
great. I
Yeah,
think
do it
that's
that way.
excellent. Yeah, okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyway, okay, so now on to funner things. Okay.
Funner.
So, yeah, I
Were
think this
you
is
an
fun.
English major?
I know, that's probably not an appropriate word.
It's not.
But it looks like the first day of spring today, right? So I don't care.
That makes it a whole lot funner.
It does, it's so exciting. I've been waiting for this day. I really have. Okay, one of the things that the college is very close to completing is our Startup New York campus plan. And Startup New York is the Governor Cuomo initiative to create a tax-free zone for companies that are hopefully, in my opinion, relocating from other states and countries, as opposed to shuffling deck chairs on a Titanic within a region, right? But instead, let's get some new businesses here so we can create some jobs. As the regulations have unfolded and as the SUNY system works closely with the governor's staff on this, things have been in a state of flux. That said, there is an approving board, and the last I could tell, it only consisted of 3 individuals. The colleges are asked to submit a campus plan. Our plan is done, except we are letting the SUNY system staff look at it and offer any feedback. Hopefully they'll be done by the end of this week. At that point, we will disseminate this plan to a large number of stakeholders, which is sort of in part of the statute. And there's a 30-day review period where individuals can express any feedback about the plan. So we like the plan. The plan has, I worked on it with my executive team and with a small core faculty group whose discipline areas really align well with where the college would like to go with Startup New York. Some of the things have changed since even 3 months ago, and some of those changes are creating a little bit of confusion. And I think some of them really should concern the county. So for example, at the beginning it was, well, they've got to locate on the campus or within a mile from the campus. Now there's a thing that's been added to the statute called an affiliate agreement, which basically says a business can be pretty much anywhere as long as they have an agreement with the campus. I think the problem that creates for you is now your property tax base, if those affiliate agreements aren't really aligning with college programs, some businesses have already asked me to sort of use this as a loophole to get out of paying taxes. And I guess I wanted you to know the college is not gonna go there. We are not gonna go there. And Scott and Kitty have a copy of the second to the hopefully almost the last draft. The last draft will hopefully be out, and I'll send it to all of you electronically when that is completed. And you'll note some language that I added, which makes it very clear. The only way we're gonna enter into an affiliate agreement is if it's, number one, a significant and clear, it's gonna lead to college graduates because it aligns really well with our program. And number two, it will generate a significant number of jobs. And I chose the word significant very carefully. Because it's amazing how people are now extrapolating that piece of the statute. I'm actually trying to avoid it altogether. I really don't want to do any affiliate agreements because in some respects, it just creates a burden on the college to have an off-campus, an off-site location that I might not like. And it makes it really hard to transport students there and makes it harder for them to get the education connection done. So, but that is a change in the statute. I'm not quite sure how it ended up, but that's where it's at. That said, we're really focusing, I would say, on 4 areas. The first area is food and beverage manufacturing, which we have a widespread faculty support for. And one of the things about Startup New York, if my faculty decide to block it, they have the power to do so, in my opinion. So it's really important for faculty to be on board. And luckily, I think we have, most of our full-time faculty really understand that Sullivan County needs jobs. They really do get that. So I think we're in a good position. They're also very excited about the farm-to-table movement. They're very excited about helping get some of our really great Catskills local products to bigger markets like New York City and beyond. So that is definitely a big part of this plan. The second part of the plan relates to software development because that aligns with our computer simulation and game design program. And so if a company comes in and they have to be manufacturing a software, they can't be retailing it. Retail is basically exempt from the legislation. It's exempt. So they're really targeting businesses that are manufacturers, including software. That also includes companies that are using software in addition to phone calls or one-on-one meetings to provide a service that is not strictly administrative. I know you gotta read the law, it's hilarious. It's just the funnest reading you ever wanted to do, Sam. But an example of this is Hobson's. Hobson's is really, they'd love to locate to this county and our college. They'd be excellent to have because they're not in New York State at the present time. They provide services to international students and their families. And they use a combination of software and phone calls to help provide a seamless educational pathway to a study abroad situation all over the world. Where we're gonna get hung up is they want the SUNY system to sign on as their largest client. And the SUNY system has 64 colleges and universities. And the odds of that happening are probably 1 in 200,000. I mean, seriously, they can't, the system is not gonna do that. Now what I've been encouraging Hobson's to do is say, listen, SUNY Sullivan, if you cut us a good deal, we can model your product. You can send your reps out to every CUNY school and every SUNY school. I think you're gonna get enough clients just being in New York State. And so that's been my argument, is if you're gonna wait for the SUNY system to contract with you, it's not gonna happen. But that's a good example of that second category, a company that's developing software while they're providing a service to a very specialized market that would be relatively new to Sullivan County, okay? The third area, that I'm about to forget here, well, the fourth, I remembered the fourth area first. We stuck in there a little section about manufacturing and prototyping. There's a lot of 3D printing efforts happening in our region, and we know that the Center for Discovery is interested in sort of a MakerBot or a prototyping lab. I'm not completely clear on the alignment with programs, but so that we didn't have to go back and amend the plan, and because we are going to be a smart lab, and we're doing the PLC program logic controls that manufacturers can troubleshoot, and that's gonna happen in the next couple of months on our campus. We stuck it in there, just in case we can do some of those different kinds of manufacturer certifications and trainings and companies that are working from the research and development end of manufacturing as opposed to an actual product. Let's see what else. Oh, and business. We also put in the business administration, which links us up to some hospitality and tourism-like products. Those industries are pretty much exempt from the legislation. So a hotel is not gonna be able to locate on our campus and take advantage of Startup New York. They're exempt, not gonna work. But a company that is, for example, developing software that might serve a manager of a hotel chain would work, for example. So we went ahead and highlighted entrepreneurship and business in our plan and included hospitality and tourism under that umbrella in case there's a business related to that qualifies as the proper business type. Anyway, so any questions about Startup New York?
So you would then allow something like a food hub business?
Yes, I think, well, let me back up. So as I was reading the newspaper, and one day, yes, I'm sorry, I'm not, maybe I should bring it up. I understand that the county is exploring possible sites for the food hub distribution idea. And I have received a couple of phone calls from individuals who are residents who said, hey, have you thought about locating that at the college campus? Yes, I actually had thought about it when I read that the county was exploring some other possible locations other than the initial one that was identified. At the face of it, I think the college would be very supportive if it was viable. I mean, we are about 4.2 miles from Highway 17. I don't know enough about where the price point is for the distribution to know if that's viable. I mean, I think that's a question for individuals who are studying it. But I can tell you that I would be very supportive, the faculty would be supportive, and I brought an example of why. We just hired our international program coordinator. He came on board this week. We're so excited because I asked my team to look for someone bilingual. I said preferably look for someone who speaks Chinese and English, look for someone who's worked with international student programs, and look for someone who's been an international student. We actually found someone.
Good for you.
We actually found someone.
It's the season of miracles.
It is I'm serious. It's the season of miracles. And he actually was an international student at Stony Brook, and so he also knows the SUNY system. But what I'm looking for is Cindy talked to him about Startup New York. Oh, I'll probably find it in 20 minutes, and then I'll just blurt out the name of the company.
Just come on back.
He got really excited about it, and he knows of a Chinese food beverage manufacturer who's looking for a North American location, and they produce healthy styles of beverage. I mean, this would be so excellent. And can you imagine if we were able to do what I think really is at the heart of Startup New York? Let's get a company from another country who no one's been really competing with. We move them on to work with our students who could help westernize their products, because that's probably gonna be a necessity. But to have the distribution piece literally in the same 10-acre plot would truly be amazing, I would think. And so, now the question though, the other piece of the question, I put a call in today, but I couldn't, the attorney from Startup New York, Sandra Casey, did not return my call. The question is, if the county contracted with someone who's already doing this, like this Mike Sweeney out of Kingston, could he avail himself of Startup New York? Is he considered a manufacturer or a wholesaler? If he is considered a wholesaler, the answer is no. If he is considered a manufacturer, because he takes locally produced goods and repackages them, and he has a really cool label that he puts that says where it came from, when it was produced, and the name of the local farm who produced it, which is what apparently New York City slickers care about, right? I mean, they really do. And so, I mean, is he then in effect a manufacturer? And I think the answer is yes, he is. And if he is, then he would be able to take advantage of the Startup New York law.
Did you minor in law?
Pardon me?
Did you minor in law?
No, I thought about it though. I almost went to law school.
English law? Boy, we're covering all the majors.
Yeah, so, okay, the other thing that I wanted to give to you is, and the second part two of your question, Kitty, is this is, you're familiar with this project, even though it's been, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. This is a project that we put in for the SUNY 2020 grant, $12 million grant. We still haven't heard yet, so we have no news on the topic. But the board directed me to move forward with this project anyway, that even though you don't have the money for a car, and we want to have an official vote of support for this, and thumbs up on trying to begin getting private donors, and I've already started working on that. And so, but in this concept, this Healthy World Studies and Tech Transfer Institute, there's that enormous emphasis on food and beverage. And food, mostly because of the health implications, beverage, because this county has a really great cluster of people making spirits. I mean, some really high quality spirits. And I think that could all fit in as well. Some legally, yeah. That's all I got.
We're not talking when my
Yeah.
grandfather had to still on the farm, you know.
Or the
Thank
bathtub
you.
gin.
Thank you very much.
Maybe
Yeah,
not,
thanks.
actually.
Thank you. I want to move forward now with the resolution, and I have a handout of a change, not the resolution that is here in your packet. This is some adaptation of the resolution. And,
Resolution for
Hang
number
on.
one.
okay,
Get one?
That's my original.
Which one
No, I
does this
need
replace?
Number one.
this is
Number one?
replacing number 1.
Okay.
Okay, this resolution is introduced by the Government Services Committee, rescinding the resolution number 477 of 2006 and resolution number 137 of 2012, and implementing a new policy for contracting agency funding requiring any agency funded by the county to submit a detailed budget request and supporting documents as a consideration of payment. So what this is attempting to do is to know in advance for our future budget what the agencies are, who they are. They have to be nonprofit, not-for-profit agencies, and apply for funding instead of automatically getting funding. So it's with consideration of what you were concerned about. Let's not keep going with another resolution, and so we're rescinding those other 2 resolutions, and then I propose this resolution as the change.
Is the only difference 1A?
1A is the only difference from what you had before.
Yeah, that's-
Because 1A in the one in your packet spoke about only easy form 990, where this is 990 and easy form.
Yeah, that's,
So,
that's fine, I just wanted to.
the
know if
only
that was
other
the only
change, no, there's one other change. If you look at the other, your original packet, on the second page, it talks of in C, 4C. It spoke of if the county appropriation. So that is, that last sentence of 4C is deleted. Those are the only changes from what was in your packet and this page that I'm presenting now.
difference. Well, I'll move it for a vote.
Okay. Is there any questions or anything regarding this?
I need a second.
Well, you need a second, so we can actually really discuss.
Cindy is seconding it. Is there any questions regarding this? Is there any discussion on this?
As long as those are the only two changes, I'm fine.
Okay, so then I would, call for a vote. All in favor?
Or is it?
Three. Alan had stepped out.
He's
Oh,
not on this
okay,
committee.
Okay.
Yes,
so
he is.
He's on the committee, but he's,
Scott is?
No, it's
No.
Alan.
I meant
I know
Scott,
that.
I meant Scott.
okay. We good on that?
Yep.
Okay. Then we're moving on to the resolution number 2, which is to amend the county's procurement policy.
Motion.
I need a second. I'll second it. Is there any discussion on this? All in favor?
Rezip.
All right. Then there's an amendment to the county procurement policy to authorize the utilization of the best value provisions as set forth in local law number 1 of 2014. I need a motion.
I'll move it.
Jean, second. Cindy.
Is there any discussion on this?
This is the policy that you've been working on, this is the final draft.
Yeah.
We've been changing the procurement policy and the provisions are attached.
Right.
All in favor?
Rezip.
Thank you. Number 4, the amendment of the county procurement policy to authorize utilization of the piggyback provision of general municipal law number 103, 16. I need a,
Motion.
Jean, second.
I'll second it. Is there any further discussion on this?
We had discussed this
Yes,
last month.
this is same, this
It's
is
the
just
same
now
thing.
changing the manual,
Right,
and
that's,
the provisions are attached.
yeah, I'm good.
Any other discussion? Okay, then all in favor?
Rezip.
And the final one is to authorize an award and execution of the agreement with Advanced Testing Company for quality assurance asphalt plant inspection for 2014 resurfacing programs.
Motion.
Jean, second.
I'll second that.
This is required for any time we do paving, we have to have a company inspect the asphalt before we put it down.
So that we don't have crummy asphalt.
No, so meet specs. Gotta meet specs.
Okay, all in favor?
Rezip.
Well, even if it's good asphalt, if you
Thank
don't
you.
put down enough.
It's time for public comment. Is there any public comment?
You're up.
No, he's not gonna say.
I have the name of the company and it's really quite funny.
Okay. Oh my God, I'm afraid to ask. Chinese Checkers Inc.
I think it's Wahaha Group.
Now that's funny.
And it is the,
That's
uh,
funny.
That's pretty funny. It's the largest
That's more
Chinese
fun.
beverage producer. And it's a family-owned business, and he must know them because he says that they're passing it along to the second generation. The only daughter who's educated in the United States has a strong interest to expand overseas.
That's funny.
What's the name of the market?
Okay, so, if there's no other public comment, I need a motion to adjourn.
Cindy, Kitty.
Thank you all, appreciate it. Thank you, Corinne, for all your work that you've done, and everyone else, Steve, thank you.
Thanks for the lesson in English.